You ready? Good morning. Welcome to the County Board meeting. Would you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first thing on our agenda is recognition of retiring employee Tina Eberthaus. Okay.
Commissioner Coring,
Here.
Commissioner Lubke,
Here.
Commissioner Barros,
Here.
Commissioner Franzine,
Here.
Commissioner Lee.
Here.
Okay. Next thing is recognition of retiring employee Tina Ebertowski after 26 years. There's perfect.
Madam Chair, County Board, today we get to honor and celebrate Tina, someone who has given more than 27 years, I will note 28 years in June, had she stuck around, of her talents, her patience, and her crafting skills with Crow Wing County Community Services. Tina has dedicated her career to serving our residents and supporting our staff with unwavering kindness, professionalism, and compassion. Tina has been a steady and positive force for both our staff and our residents. She's the kind of person who makes tough days smoother, complicated processes simpler, and busy offices feel just a little more human. If something needed to get done, Tina knew how to do it, knew who to call, or somehow magically made it happen before anyone else even realized there was a problem. Tina, your dedication and kindness have made Crow Wing County a better place. We're incredibly grateful for all you've poured into the organization. And while we're very happy for you, we do reserve the right to call you with questions, at least for the first couple months, years, if that's okay, of your retirement. So congratulations to Tina. We wish you all the joy, rest, and adventures that the next chapter brings. You've absolutely earned it. Did you want to speak? Probably can't outdo that.
So we didn't coordinate very well this morning. Tammy Lewick, had the pleasure of supervising Tina for the last, I think about 3 years now. And I've worked alongside her for the last 15, 16 years now. And I don't really have a lot more to say, but I want to give some recognition. Her team is here in the back, as well as guys stand up, the ones they don't get to come to board very often, so I want to give them some recognition. These are our financial workers with our adult team and our long-term care team. So I just want to give them recognition too, and it shows how much they care about you, and these were some of the things that they said. They described Tina as someone who is engaging, a great mentor, truly listens. Others shared that Tina is clear with direction and communicates changes well. She involves the team in decisions that affect our work assignments and workflow. Another colleague noted, Tina doesn't just do her job, she genuinely sees and cares for the people we serve. I think Tina has done such an excellent job shaping the culture that we've been working to create at Community Services. She does that all the time. She's just very kind. I think Kara mentioned she's crafty. Most holidays you received a homemade card from Tina, and I'm going to really miss those.
We're not going to get those?
Hopefully we do. And then just outside of her work, Tina brings the same warmth and passion to her personal life. She enjoys gardening, crafting, traveling, spending time with her family and friends, activities that reflect her creativity, her curiosity, and her generous spirit. Tina, your presence will be deeply missed. Thank you for the many years of dedicated service, your kindness, the positive impact that you've made on so many lives. We wish you joy, adventure, and a well-deserved relaxation in this next chapter. Congratulations on your retirement.
I'll just say that it's been truly an adventure for the last several years, or all of my years here working here. Never thought when I walked in the door long ago to start my career here in support staff that I would be where I am today. So, thank you.
Thank you.
That to you. Thank you for your service to Birmingham, and congratulations on your retirement. Thank you.
Want to look here first? Okay, hold on. On more.
Thank you. Okay, next thing on the agenda is open forum. Michael Duvall. Please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the records. We have a time limit of 3 minutes.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. My name is Mike Duvall. I'm here to express my concern about the sustainability of the intergovernmental agreements with the County Sheriff's Office that in part have been represented as a means of closing an operating budget shortfall for our county jail after Cass County had withdrawn. 20 or so years ago, a predecessor county board debated building a new county government complex over here, and that was a very public process. And in fact, my son at that time was a youth member of a citizen input committee that was formed by that board at the time. And now, these many years later, part of that complex, specifically the jail, is not financially serving the county needs as originally envisioned. This board today, in your silence, has left the sheriff in that difficult position of figuring out how to solve that financial problem. And clearly not everyone agrees with his current solution, and he's sustained quite a bit of public criticism as a result of that. And it's my perspective that it's time for the county board to declare where it stands and what its priorities are on this particular issue. I think you owe it to your constituents, and especially I think you owe it to the sheriff to be clear about where the county should be on these agreements with the federal government. And I ask you to formally add board discussion and action on 287G agreements to your next county board agenda. Thank you for the time to speak with you.
Thank you. Camille Lang.
Camille Lang. My address is 14526 Snow-K Hall Road, Brainerd. Commissioners, thank you for hearing me. I also have concerns with the 287G agreement. I think there are a lot of financial and legal concerns with it, but as a family practice doctor and a mom, I want to talk a little more about just the effect that I think it can have on our community's health and safety. One of my concerns that I'm not hearing a lot of prior discussion about is that I think Currently, we have a group of law enforcement officers who do a good job and have worked really hard to build rapport so that our kids and community members feel safe going to them when they're in danger. I'm concerned that this is going to invite increased ICE presence in our community, and I think ICE really kind of meets the stereotype of like villainous authority with their wearing masks and basically act first, ask questions later. Apart from wanting my kids to feel like they can go to authority when they need it and not be afraid of them, I worry about the trauma that this causes for people. I mean, we know there are arrests that happen for immigrants that are here legally and don't have warrants out for their arrest. And this creates a lot of trauma, not just for the individual, but for everyone witnessing it, for their families, especially for their kids. And in my work, I see trauma a lot, and I can tell you that the strain that this puts on our mental health resources and our social resources is significant, and so I worry about increasing that, especially if we have beds that we need to fill and we're kind of promoting increased arrests. And then finally, I just worry about the fact that our law enforcement officers are there for a reason right now. They're keeping us safe, and I think if we start pulling them away to do other roles that aren't necessarily part of their defined job, who's going to do what they're supposed to be doing? I'm not claiming to be an expert on this. Maybe we have plenty of manpower to do that. But I think we need to have some public discussion about what the real implications are in terms of the benefits we're getting and what risks we're taking and what we're sacrificing to do this. So my ask is that we put reconsideration of the 287G agreement on public agenda for discussion. Thank you.
Next, Robert Grant.
Robert Grant, 7589 County Road 13, Nisswa. I've dealt with MnDOT, but they kind of blew it off. But the stoplight at 371 and 13 by Schaefer's, that turn light signal is not on long enough to even get one car through. It turns on, and before you even get halfway through the interchange, it shuts off. And I didn't get any results. I've contacted MnDOT 4 times, and they said everything's fine. I think it needs to be a little bit extended. And then I wanted to thank you guys for being transparent from past dealings with you. You are very transparent and upfront and honest, and I really appreciate that, because where I came from in southern Minnesota, the county board didn't listen to the people, and I do feel that you guys do listen to what the people have to say. And in closing, I support the sheriff in all his dealings, so I think he's doing the right thing. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Next on the agenda is review and approval of the minutes for March 10th.
Madam Chair.
Yes?
Madam Chair, on that, the last speaker up there, could you direct Deb Erickson or Tim Bray to contact the DOT? If he's not getting any relief on that, I think we need to reach out.
Madam
Thank
Chair,
you.
Commissioner Coring, I already made a note to talk with Tim about that, yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Deb.
Okay. Do you want to make a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting?
I so move to approve the minutes of the last meeting, 3/10/26.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Coring, second by Commissioner Lee. All those in favor?
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke,
Aye.
Commissioner Barros,
Aye.
Commissioner Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine.
Aye, motion carries. I need a motion to accept the amended minutes of the February 10th, 2026 regular county board meeting.
Motion to approve. Okay.
Okay,
Second, Coring.
I have a motion by Commissioner Barrows, second by Commissioner Coring. All those in favor?
Commissioner Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke,
Aye.
Commissioner Barros,
Aye.
Commissioner Franzen.
Aye, motion carries. Review and approval of today's agenda.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Barrows has received a request from Brainerd Public Utilities with regard to a resolution of support for some grant funding, and he would like to have that placed under additional business, if you're okay with that.
I am okay with that, but I spoke with him this morning, and he would like to move it up. He is about to get onto a plane.
You can take that now if you'd like to handle that action right now.
That would be fine.
So if you want to approve the agenda, we'll put it on as agenda item 5.1, right before consent.
I make a motion to approve the agenda with that amendment.
I'll second it.
Motion by Commissioner Lubke, second by Commissioner Lee.
Commissioner
All those-
Barrows.
Aye.
Commissioner Lee.
Aye.
Commissioner Coring.
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke.
Aye.
Commissioner Franzen.
Aye. Motion carries. Commissioner Barrows, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Chair. This is a request that came from BPU Director Paul Sandy, and what he's requesting is there's a needed upgrade to the Brainerd Public Utilities plant that sits just into the border of Baxter, but it's a proposal by Brainerd and Baxter coordinating efforts to get this grant. It's a $10 million grant. The timeline for it is this Friday, and that's the reason for bringing this forward today without additional notice to each of the commission members. So I appreciate the opportunity to put this out there. They'll be addressing it. They missed the opportunity with Congressman Stauber's office for the funding in the House, but they have this opportunity in the Senate, so they'll be reaching out to Senator Smith and Klobuchar. And this is a need that we're looking at the plant out there, and it's getting close to the end of its useful life. There are now additional requirements that are being put on by NPCA. We need to ensure that this plant continues to meet those requirements, but also moves us into the future and whatever development takes place. I know we have annexation on the agenda today, but in the future, and not necessarily with this board, but additional, future boards, there will be, I guess, questions or requirements to move access to the Brainerd Public Utilities plant further out, and I so move this resolution between Brainerd and Baxter.
Do we have a second? Do we have a second?
Madam Chair.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Paul? Commissioner Corin?
Yeah, I would second that. And then, Madam Chair, I would have a question for Commissioner Barrows.
All right.
Commissioner Barrows, this is a resolution, we're supporting it. We're not, the Crow Wing County is not going to be the fiscal agent for this $10 million if it happens, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
It's the city of Brainerd will be the fiscal host for it through the Brainerd Public Utilities organization. So thank you for the question and the clarification.
But Madam Chair and then Commissioner Barrows, so in essence, the county board is lending their support to this project because obviously all the citizens of Baxter and all the citizens of Brainerd who reap the benefit of this facility, they are Crow Wing County residents. So as the county board, we're lending our support to those citizens. Is that correct?
That's correct. And
okay,
as you
perfect.
As you note, Commissioner Coring, Brainerd and Baxter represent somewhere between 25 and 30% of the population in Crow Wing County. So very dense, and I don't think MPCA is going to let us live without upgrading this plant at some point. So if we can tap into federal dollars, I think that's an opportunity we should take, and I appreciate the support. Originally, it was a personal ask of me, and then Mr. Sandy wanted it on a letterhead. To me, that engages the other four of you commissioners, so that's why I'm bringing it forward as a motion for the support of all of us.
Madam Chair,
Yes?
Madam Chair, so just if you'll indulge me, one more thing, at the Solid Waste Committee level, the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency is now going to be requiring that we haul our leachate. We cannot take care of our leachate out at the landfill. We're actually going to be trucking that to the wastewater treatment in St. Cloud. So this actually gives me hope that if there's a possibility that this facility for Brainerd Baxter can be upgraded, there could be a good possibility that we could take our leachate to this facility, and actually it would be a savings for the taxpayers. So I'm in full support of this resolution.
Thank you. Does anyone else have
Yeah,
anything?
Madam Chair, the only thing that I have concern about, I don't have anything in front of me in regards to this resolution, a copy of it or any paperwork in front of it.
None
I
of
would-
us do.
Well, I didn't know that. I didn't know if I was special or something, but I usually like to have something in front of me before we make a resolution, because without that, it could be whatever. We make the resolution here, and somebody gives us a document. I'm kind of persnickety that way. I would like to see the document in front of me.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Lubke, to your point, this would actually be not a resolution. Would be a motion that would authorize a letter of support from the county board, basically. And Amber's working on getting what I have here on the screen up on the screen for you, hopefully. Basically, it is, would be authorizing a letter of support that would basically say the County Board of Commissioners is in support of Brainerd Public Utilities efforts and supports the grant funding authorization that they have placed before you.
Okay.
So it's not an actual resolution. It's a motion that would authorize the chair to sign a letter of support
Okay.
to both Senator Smith and Senator Klobuchar.
Yeah, I just want to make the point that I
Yes.
really appreciate if we have the information in front of
Absolutely.
us. So, okay, thank you.
I normally don't vote yes on anything where I don't have anything in front of me, but I had a conversation with Commissioner Barrows earlier, and $10 million will really help, and it's something that we're going to have to do, which will fall on the taxpayers if we don't get this.
Very true.
You have a motion, a second, right?
Yeah, I have a motion by Commissioner Barrows, second by Commissioner Coring. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke,
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows,
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, consent agenda.
Madam Chair, I have a couple of questions on a few of the items on the consent agenda I would like to address, and that's 6.7, 6.8, and 6.9. I was not able to be here at the county the whole meeting, so if it was discussed then, I wasn't part of that discussion, so.
Okay, we'll pull those and we'll discuss those right after we approve the consent agenda.
Madam Chair,
Yes? Do you have
couldn't we
any?
just discuss them? Couldn't we just discuss those and if the commissioner is satisfied with the discussion, then we could vote on it as a whole item?
Sure. I'm fine with that, too.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's discuss.
Let's discuss. If there anybody here that can represent in far as the tax forfeiture appointment, is there anybody here from?
Gary,
Black?
do you want to touch on that?
I think it was written by Jessica, but
Yeah. And she is online, it looks like, too.
Hey, good morning. I believe Jessica's online. She did write the apportionment this year. There wasn't a lot of apportionment after expenses. I don't have it in front of me. If we want to pull it up, I can walk you through it.
and it's hard to jump between my screen and my notes with this one here right now. I'm learning how to do that, but. Next item, the one where you have the actual apportionment of the 25 taxes there.
That one there, yep.
Yep, that one there.
Okay.
So just to ask the question, Is that normal? I mean, that's $3,800,000 and some thousand that we've collected in sales off of tax forfeited lands?
That is timber revenue and the sale of
Okay, it's
forfeited
both.
property.
It's both in there because it says tax forfeited surplus.
Yep.
And it doesn't say timber sales, so I didn't know if that was both or just one, so.
About $1 million of it is timber, the rest of it is land that we sold.
Is that a normal number? Is that something we normally see? It seems like to me, it seems like a big number, even though I've seen it before.
We're usually around 2.5 million. So this year was an elevated number.
Okay.
We had a couple of properties that were over $1 million that pushed us up quite a bit.
And explain to me then why we are apportioning it, if that's money that the county got in, why are we apportioning it to other jurisdictions? And why is there a certain number that we apportion, or is it only a certain amount, or how is that done?
So by statute annually, anything that is remaining in the tax forfeited apportionment account needs to be apportioned. And how it works is basically 20% goes to our recreation account, 40% basically to the general account, and then the remaining 20% is going to be, and then another, believe it's 50% of the 100% goes to our CIP, and then 20% to the cities, and that's where the timber or the land was sold. So typically, we've been running around a $50,000 to $100,000 apportionment. It's after all expenses are paid. So depending on the level of expenses in the given year, the apportionment, one time we had over $1 million apportionment. We didn't have a lot of expenses. In the last 3, 4, 5 years, we've had a lot of expenses to, modernize some of our equipment. We've also acquired some different properties moving forward. So there hasn't been a lot of apportionment, but 96,000 in apportionments right around the average in the last, say, 5 years.
The other thing is those tax forfeited revenues, we do use those for if I'm not mistaken, for our parks, and that's where we're getting that money and using that for that parks and our timber sales?
Yep, it basically pays all the expenses in our forestry department. So we manage over it's about 106,000 acres now for timber and recreation. And so, we have foresters on staff, all the equipment, and with that, and then we also do all the maintenance of our parks. So the great thing about this program is we're one of the few counties in the state that can offer that kind of park system and recreation, and nobody in the county pays a dime for it from ad valorem property tax.
It's not a levy amount, it's still the citizens' tax dollars. It's just that we've apportioned it or decided as a board that we're going to use it for our parks and the things that make our county beautiful, so.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely public money. I wouldn't call it tax money, but it's
Right.
definitely public money.
Public money,
Yep.
correct. Okay. That was all I had for that. It seemed like a number that kind of really jumped out at me as far as a big number.
Sure.
Now on to ditch 13. And I'm learning a lot more about ditches when you sit on the AMC, Environmental Natural Resources Committee, but we, I think, have just one ditch 13.
We've got more than
Madam
one
Chair,
ditch.
Commissioner Lubke, I don't think Gary is
He's not the ditch
He's not the
13?
ditch expert,
Oh,
so we'll
shoot.
let him
Tim
get away
Bray.
from that.
It's Tim Bray, and I
It's
don't
Tim
know if
Bray,
this-
and Tim is not here. However, I can answer questions that you might have.
It shows that in here that we're moving money from the 30 Lakes watershed. It looks like in 2017, approved transfer of funds from the 30 Lakes watershed to the Ditch 13 fund, and then it shows the expenses for the Ditch 13 fund. How much money has been moved from the 30? Is there any money left in the 30 Lakes watershed, or?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Lubke, no. That the 30 Lakes watershed essentially disbanded, if you will. So the dollars that used to be appropriated to the 30 Lakes watershed were were transferred to the Ditch 13 fund.
Okay.
While we only have one active ditch in Crow Wing County, there are a lot of inactive ditches
Okay.
at this point in time. Ditch 13 is the only one that currently has an active levy assessment, an active assessment, or any active maintenance efforts that are occurring there. When it was decided in 2017 that 30 Lakes Watershed would disband and those dollars would be transferred to the Ditch 13 fund, that all occurred at one time. So this is just a little bit of the history of what had been done in this fund in previous years. There's been no further allocations to 30 Lakes Watershed. There's been no other changes to that aspect of it from 2015, 2017, currently forward.
Now, how much money is sitting in that fund that was moved over then in 2017? Is there, because once you run out of that money, where are you going to get the money to maintenance?
So there is a levy, there is an assessment, a special assessment that is levied against all of the property owners along the ditch.
Yep,
So
that's what
that
I'm
is a
learning.
process that went through back in 2015 to reestablish the assessment onto Ditch 13. That's where the annual dollar amount comes from, and the dollar amount of necessary need is looked at every year. And it's one of the things that we've actually started to look at a little bit closer, because it's costing us, it looks like approximately $3,300 annually to maintain that fund, and we're maybe bringing in a little bit more than what is needed in that
Okay,
account.
okay.
So if you recall, the levy assessment for 2026 was actually reduced. The special assessment amount was reduced for 2026. So we're looking at what's the right balance of what that assessment amount needs to be. And depending on, with any ditch, the issue with a ditch assessment is that it is determined by the benefit that each property owner receives. So some parcels might have an assessment of 57 cents. Some might have an assessment of $500. It just kind of determined by the original determination of what that parcel was. And if you can imagine, I believe Ditch 13 was established in 1920-something. Those parcels, in some cases, have been developed and split multiple times. The value or the determination of the benefit of that parcel starts and stays with that first original assessment of that parcel, and it's just been carved down. So parcels that haven't been developed or shrunk, they still have a large assessment. Ones who might have a higher valuation or better property value are still only paying a smaller amount of what that assessment might be.
But the people on that ditch are the ones that are actually paying
People
for
on that ditch are the ones who are actually paying for it.
And I'm just really glad that we only have one active ditch in this county, because listening
Yes.
to other commissioners, it can be a real nest.
Yes.
Okay, that helped me with that.
I guess that raised one question for me. The 30 Lake Water District, does this zero that out then, or is there still money trickling
There
into
is no
that?
money in 30 Lakes Watershed.
Okay.
There's no money that goes to them at all. They don't even exist anymore.
And, if you don't mind, Madam Chair, I've got the last question, the 6.9, which is an application for cancellation of forfeiture. The notes I have, I noticed the date, and this is kind of old. How is it just coming to us now? It looks like it was way back in 2001, so I'd like you to kind of explain that, if you don't mind, Gary.
Sure. Madam Chair, Commissioners, real quick on 30 Lakes Watershed, there is a fund balance out there that we use at Soil and Water Conservation District does do water sampling on an annual basis for, I think it's 16 or 17 lakes. So that is going to be in perpetuity, basically, is what we're doing with that. So we do have a fund there. So there is a little bit of activity with 30 Water, but it has been disbanded as a watershed.
Is there funds going in there?
No.
Okay, so how much money is actually sitting there if you've got, you were taking some of the ditch money out, and then you're
I didn't want to confuse, I shouldn't have maybe, but
Yes.
I just, what it is it does, I can't remember how much, I don't have, but it does accrue interest every year. And they are, I can't remember the numbers, about $4,000 a year that it is losing money, but with the cost of the sampling and how much money is in there, that we think it's going to be a long time before it's actually depleted and not be able to do that for that area of the county.
Could I just ask, what is the balance in it right now? Do we have any idea?
We do have, I just don't have it with me currently.
Okay, I would.
Find that
But I
information
can,
out for you.
I'll follow up with you
I'd
after the meeting.
appreciate
Yep,
that, just to have an
absolutely.
idea. Okay,
Yeah, sorry, so this cancellation here, we continue to comb We have a tax forfeited list with hundreds and hundreds of properties on it. These two, and we continue to offer the ones that we believe are not in the public's interest to hold on public auction. So continue to comb through that. These had some interesting classifications on them as road, and pulling them up, I'd asked staff to do some more research on these, why they were existed or why they forfeit. So in 2001, this plat had went on, if you go up 371 and where 371 Furniture is, I think it's Indigo Road shoots back to the left. And what these two parcels are basically that road. So when that was platted, this forfeiture should have never happened back in 2001. It should have been part of we have a road layer that if it's dedicated to the public, it just kind of goes in there, and those parcels would have been dissolved, and that's what we're trying to do now, except for we need to cancel the forfeiture so we can move forward and get rid of these two parcels.
So what you're saying is maybe it should have been a dedicated road, but it never, like a prescriptive easement?
Well, no, it's underlying ownership to the public moving forward, and it should have never been created as these two parcels should have just been dissolved back in 2002 when they were forfeited.
And how do you catch that?
We have an internal process, and when we have nothing better to do, Commissioner, is we try to get to these when we can. But we have a list of these problem parcels that we try to tackle every year when we can get to them.
Okay.
Madam Chair, Commissioner, one of the things we've talked about for decades is our data is as good as the data that we have in front of us at the time that we have it. And as we get more advanced and more sophisticated tools for these types of things, we discover these types of issues that occur. So the cleanup list will continue as more and more technology and better knowledge, better data becomes available to us.
Yeah, I see this is something, and I'm involved in a lot of stuff where they talk about AI being used, where some formula, some way of looking at it to at least bring it out so you can at least look at it and have eyes look at it,
Yeah, we have a known list of things we need to tackle. It's
This
a
just came up.
resource and, problem is what it is, but.
Okay, that's all I had. Thank you for clarifying that for me.
Madam Chair, do you have a motion on the consent agenda?
Not yet.
I so move the adoption of the consent agenda.
Okay, do we have a
Quickly.
second?
I will second that motion. Thank you.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Coring, second by Commissioner Lubke. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none?
Commissioner Lubke.
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows.
Aye.
Commissioner Lee.
Aye.
Commissioner Coring.
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, we're on to unorganized territory.
Madam Chair, you'll notice this is a kind of new category on your agenda that you probably haven't seen before as unorganized territory. We've talked many times about how for the first assessment district and the second assessment district, those two unorganized territories, you as the county board are charged with the statutory responsibilities of the township board. However, a lot of the action that is done for these unorganized territories is not specifically related to the county's budget or to the county actions of themselves. So I thought for clarification purposes, it would be an easier way of identifying which items are FAD and SAD related versus which items are county related. So if you're all okay with continuing this process, if we have items that are unorganized territory in nature where you are essentially performing those duties of a township board, we'll list them under that heading on the agenda. The first item before you today is a request for first responder coverage change in second assessment. And Jessica, Lieutenant Turner, if she would be kind enough to kind of give you a little overview of this topic.
Hello. So this is, things got reorganized with the armor installation in 2014 for our county. And at that time,
Jess, can you tell us what armor is, just for folks who may not know?
So armor being our radio system. that we use throughout the state of Minnesota and for our county. So in 2014, we went from the analog system to the digital system, which is Armor, gives us interoperability throughout the state. And my predecessors, and I'm not sure because those were my predecessors at that time, decided to reorganize first responder groupings within our county. So prior to Armor, Ross Lake First Responders were their own response group. They currently maintain their own EMSRB, I get that acronym wrong, but their licensure, whatever, to be first responder groups. So they're legitimate, I have their paperwork. And when that change happened, Ross Lake First Responders got kind of put together with Zone 4. So Zone 4 now includes Crosby, Deerwood, Ross Lake, and that kind of whole area of Zone 4 first responders. So what Ross Lake has been asking for in the last few years is to break back off out of Zone 4 response area. It has been approved by Zone 4. Tom Nixon is the one that's in charge of Zone 4 first responders, and Wendy that's in charge of Ross Lake and has a member on their board, from what I understand, has approved to be pulled back out. Really, there's no cost incurred for us. We have a little bit of change in land services to change our ESN or our service numbers for that, some change in our CAD. And in that request, they're also asking to cover second assessment. And it does make sense. I spoke with both groups are on board because second assessment is on the north side of the river. So for proximity and getting across the river, it's really hard for Deerwood first responders or Crosby responders in that Zone 4 area to get there. And they're really not getting there from what I understand. So what they're looking for is that support, because part of our protocols to change anything is whatever township that those changes occur in have to approve it. And since it's second assessment, that's what I'm here representing today, that you'll support Ross Lake covering Section 2 of unorganized.
So, Madam Chair, the action before you today is to authorize the chair to sign the letter that's on the screen, approving the request for Ross Lake First Responders to provide coverage for the second assessment district.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the first responder coverage of the second assessment district to be provided by Ross Lake First Responders.
Madam Chair, I'll second that motion.
I have a motion from Commissioner Lee, second from Commissioner Lebke. Is there any discussion? Hearing none?
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Lepke,
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows,
Aye.
Commissioner Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you. Madam Chair, the second item before you is the 2027 fire assessment calculations for the first assessment district. Fire services for the FAD are provided by the Brainerd Fire Department, and annually the city recalculates what the following year's costs will be for each municipality that they cover. You might remember that most townships set their levy for the following year at their annual meeting in March, which is different than what the first and second assessments do, because as unorganized territories, those levies are set in your budget resolutions in September and December. But this information is provided to all the townships by the beginning of March so that they can utilize that for their annual meeting and their levy set. So recently, the Fire Advisory Board met and the City of Brainerd provided the updated information for the 2027 assessment year. There are basically 4 factors that the city uses to determine each municipality's share of the total cost for the year. The first is the average number of calls for service over the last 5 years, except for car accidents. This equates to about 30% of the formula. The second is the population of the district, which is another 30% of the formula. The third is the total market value of the buildings, excluding tax-exempt properties, which is another 30%. And then the last 10% is the market value of those tax-exempt buildings. You might recall that tax-exempt properties are only revalued once every 6 years, so that has allocated a smaller portion of what this assessment formula is. If you show us the chart, Amber, right there. You can see on this chart that the FAD had breakdown in the 4 categories of, let's go one more screen. Can you flip that one? Because it's all on this page, yeah. The average number of runs over the last 5 years in the FAD is 62.2. The 2024 population was 6,066, which is the most current estimate that the state demographer has. The total market value of buildings minus the tax-exempt parcels is $884,201,282, and the total market value of the tax-exempt properties is $12,197,500. This essentially equates that the FAD is responsible for 16.03434% of the total fire contract. And you can see at the top of the chart here that the fire service budget used for calculation has a total of $1.4 million, about $1.45 million. So the funding share for the FAD is $233,128 for the 2027 levy year. This is essentially a $6,900 increase over 2026, or a 3.05% increase. You can see where the different entities that are covered by this fire service contract and how the FAD stacks up here. We've talked before that the first assessment district, if it was an organized municipality, would be the third largest municipality in the county behind Brainerd and Baxter. And that's referenced and reflected in this information as well. There's no action that you need to do here. This is a part of the contract agreement that we have. Annually, we adopt this information. But this is just for your information and the dollar amount that will be used as we start the 2027 budget process for the FAD. The second assessment fire district is contracted through the city of Aiken. That is done on a 5-year contract, and that's approximately $2,100 per year. You just approved that contract last year, so there's no new information that's coming before you at this time for that. You'll see that again in about 4 more years. Happy to answer any questions if any of you have them. Otherwise, this was just for your information.
Madam Chair, a question for Deb. The first assessment district uses only Brainerd Fire?
Correct.
Okay, so there's not...
Nisswa does not cover, no. This is all one district.
Does not cover any of it?
That is
Okay.
correct.
I'm kind of familiar with this because they did a fire district up in the area where I live, and they put them together, and they did this whole formula like they do every year, so
Yes.
I'm familiar with the formula, so, okay, thank you.
And over the years, since I've been a commissioner, we have had discussions about using Nisswa.
Because it'd be closer to some of our,
Yes.
so,
Any other questions on that item? The next 7.3 and 7.4 are annual transfers that are done for the first and second assessment district. These are costs that are incurred by county staff to deliver services, highway services, to the FAD and SAD annually. Historically, we've had these fund transfers come before you on an annual basis, and however, in recent discussions with the finance director, we noted we also have the authorization to conduct these fund balances that you include as part of the budget resolutions. So it's a little bit of redundancy where you're taking action twice to do essentially the same thing. In the future, we will probably combine and consolidate that to only be done as part of the budget resolution, but because these items are before you today, we are asking for your approval on these 2 items, and unless you have concerns or issues or would like to continue to see it, this would just be inclusive of the authorization that's necessary in the budget resolutions every December. For the first assessment district, the total cost is $130,587.27. And for the second assessment district, the total cost that's associated here is $7,687.46.
You need a motion?
I need a
separate
motion to
motions?
approve those 2 authorizations,
Separately,
please.
though, is what
You
I'm
can do them
asking?
as one.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve both as listed.
and I will second that motion to approve both. John? or Lupke?
I have a motion by Commissioner Lee, a second by Commissioner Lubke. Is there any discussion?
Yes, there is, Madam Chair. I looked back through the records, and back in 2017 is what I could find where there was actually a real, making it, I think, equitable. So just wanting to make sure it's equitable that, you know, we are spending county dollars on an assessment district. They have a levy, and just wanting to make sure that our costs that we're incurring at the county, because if it was a township, we would just bill a township for it. And just wanting to make sure that we keep that
Separate.
separate.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're exactly right, Commissioner Lubke. Madam Chair, one of the things that the finance director, Ms. Malika, and I talked about is there a way for us to directly allocate these costs to the FAD and the SAD at the time of the expense being incurred versus having to do the transfer? We do make sure that we are tracking these dollar amounts reference the time that is actually being spent. So every one of our engineers, every one of our maintenance workers, every one of our administration staff in the highway department, they're tracking under a cost accounting process. They have to account for every minute of their time in everything that they do. So those projects that are being done for the FAD and the SAD are being tracked directly. And that's what these fund transfers. So yes, to make sure it's equitable, we are making sure that we are 100% whole on that. One of the things we've discussed is it time to look at directly allocating those dollars at the time that they're incurred, or is it still better to capture it all together and do one annual transfer at the end? But it is something that we are very, very aware of and make sure that it occurs.
Yeah, because it wouldn't be right for Gale Lake Township to be paying county taxes
Correct.
for something being done in a pseudo township.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to clarify that.
Any more discussion? Hearing none?
Commissioner Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke,
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine.
Aye.
And Madam Chair, just for let the record show, Commissioner Barrows did have to leave the meeting. Okay.
Thank you.
Final item for unorganized territory, Madam Chair, is the Brainerd Orderly Annexation Agreement. At a prior committee of the whole meeting, you heard from City of Brainerd staff regarding a proposal for a joint resolution for orderly annexation in the First Assessment District. The City Council did adopt the orderly annexation resolution at their meeting on March 2nd on a 4-3 vote, and it is before you now for your consideration. As you heard me mention at the previous committee of the whole meeting, there are basically 3 ways that annexation can occur. The first is a joint resolution establishing an orderly annexation process. Both the city and the county would have to agree to the process, and both would need to adopt a resolution approving the orderly annexation. Brainerd has already adopted their resolution, and this is the request that is before you today. This is the process that is currently at play here. Sometimes this is known as the cooperative method or the cooperative process for annexation, and it essentially sets the terms from when and how annexation will occur. The second way that annexation can occur is by city ordinance. This is allowed when property owners petition the city. So oftentimes, someone will ask to be annexed into the city if they want to receive some type of city services. This is also a process that the city can use for some of those island properties, if you will, that are maybe completely surrounded by city properties in other areas. This is more common when the property owners want to receive services and be annexed, but it is an opportunity that is available for the city to use for those island properties as well. And the third way is what's known as a contested annexation, which requires a hearing before the Office of Administrative Hearings. In this type of process, the city can initiate annexation by submitting a resolution, or if 20% or 100 property owners suggest or petition the council to begin annexation processes, that also can trigger this particular process. The Office of Administrative Hearings then conducts a hearing, and the administrative law judge evaluates the statutory factors for annexation. So some of those factors include things like population, projected population growth, natural terrain and topography, including watersheds, soil conditions, rivers, lakes, bluffs, continuity of the properties, the pattern of development, including planning and intended land uses, transportation networks, including proposed highway or road plans, existing services, including soil and water and sewer, fire ratings, law enforcement, street maintenance and recreational facilities, existing or potential environmental problems, plans by the annexing municipality for providing needed and enhanced services in the area in a cost-effective and feasible manner within a reasonably expected time frame. And there are a host of other things that are inclusive as well. After hearing about the hearing, hearing both sides, the ALJ then approves, denies, or modifies the annexation request. So with all that said, because you have a request for a joint resolution for orderly annexation before you, you basically have three options for this particular agenda item. You can adopt the city's joint resolution, which would allow the city to proceed with the annexation process at some point in the future. Based on their plan, some of the areas that are currently surrounded by city property would be annexed in the near future, and others would be annexed at a later date as infrastructure and services are expanded to those areas. The second item you could potentially pass a motion declining to adopt the joint resolution. This would signify that you are not in agreement with the orderly annexation, and it would prohibit the city from using that particular process for annexation. The third thing is you could take no action. That's effectively the same as option number 2. There would be no joint resolution, and the city would not be able to use the orderly annexation process. If you go for options 2 or 3 today, that does not mean that the city does not have options for annexation, and does not mean that they would not ultimately continue with their annexation process. It only means that you are not agreeing to the cooperative method or the joint process under the orderly annexation statute. The city still has the authority to initiate annexation proceedings in the area under any of the other means that the statute allows. Ultimately, in annexation matters, the city has the authority and the process and holds more power than the townships do when it comes to annexation under statute. I do want to be clear to folks in the audience and to those who are watching at home that the ultimate authority for annexation decisions lies with the city, not with the county. Any action that the county takes today is specific to the resolution for orderly annexation that the city has brought before you at this point in time. I would look for whatever action you would choose to consider in this particular instance, or I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Madam Chair, I do have a couple of questions. I have some history with this as being a mayor of Jenkins, and we had some annexation issues on both sides of it. So the yes, if we did it, would incur cost. It says in their agreement that we would share the cost of whatever it would take to do this. I mean, the legal cost to do that. If we decline it, do we end up in a suit is there any suit that the city can put against us because we declined it?
Madam Chair, I would defer to the county attorney in that regard.
No, today the only issue before you is whether or not you agree with a proposed joint resolution. If you don't agree today, there is no appeal process that would come from that.
Come from that, okay.
As Ms. Erickson indicated, then the city would have other avenues to seek this annexation, but there would be no appellate remedy if you don't agree with this resolution today.
And then the third one is no action, and I'm familiar with that in a township that they just did no action. And then it put the burden totally on us as the city if we wanted to go any further. We had no, the township had no action.
Correct.
They said no opinion, and so there was no action, the third one. The reason I think about that one a little bit is we are going to have this in front of us in First Assessment District like we have here. We're going to have it somewhere down the road with other communities, whether that be Baxter, whether that be Nisswa, looking at going south. I look at no action saying that it's up to the city. If they want to do that, then they do that. As far as us, we're going to, we can't get into a fight with them on it. I don't think that would work, saying that, no, we want to keep them as an unauthorized territory. They really should be a township. Because I think they would get the best governance as a township. As you know, in Minnesota, this is the largest unorganized territory with population. The closest other one is Coochin County, and they don't even have any townships.
Correct.
They just have cities. So I've done my homework on it.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Lubke, just for one point of clarification, this has nothing to do with the FAD organizing as a township. There's no action, there's no
Right.
piece of that, of what that is involved here. There's no, if you take no action, or if you don't do anything, or if you approve it or deny it, or any of those above, doesn't change the makeup of the FAD. It's still going to be an unorganized territory. If you go back 45, probably closer to 50 years now was the last time there was a vote on whether or not the first assessment district should organize as a township, and it was soundly defeated at that point in time. I think there's been 2 votes in the past where they've gone to the residents of that district to see if they wanted to organize as a township, and that has not occurred. This annexation process has absolutely nothing to do with that aspect of
just
it.
want to
Just for
clarify that.
clarification on
I
that.
appreciate that. I appreciate that, so.
Okay. This isn't a public hearing, but I'm going to allow people to speak if you choose. Each person will be able to speak 1 time, and there'll be a limit of 3 minutes. So does anyone wish to come forward?
Not at this, we'll talk after this with,
No,
this is about.
they're the blame, right there.
Yeah, no, that's not.
This is for annexation. Are you going to speak about annexation?
But we'll,
It's at a public hearing.
yeah, no, it's for the annexation. And we'll get up and then we'll talk with,
We
Jamie.
will?
Yep, Jamie Lee,
That ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna work.
okay,
No, they won't listen to me anyway.
right, we'll take care of it.
Bull.
This ain't time.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Good morning. My name is Richard Schmidt.
You have signs up there in Justice for All, just like the prayer, the Pledge of Allegiance. That's not fair. Sorry to interrupt you.
Good morning. My name is Richard Schmidt. I live in the unorganized territory that has been mentioned off of Carr Drive. I would like to reiterate the fact that annexation is not just a boundary change. It is a permanent shift in governance, taxation, in which we're informed our taxes will double. Infrastructure and community identity are affected. Under Minnesota law, annexation must serve the best interest of the affected area and demonstrate that municipal governance is necessary to protect public health, safety, and welfare. Under Minnesota Statute 414.0325, this burden has not been met. This is state law and cannot be dismissed or ignored. When the 2003 Riverside project was sold to the public, property owners at that time were told that involuntary annexation would never happen. And I just can't believe in what Ms. Erickson had stated in the second option, that the city is supposed to be providing some kind of information about how much is this going to cost us. The hookup charge is $17,220 at this point, and that doesn't include any other lines that have to be run. I can't even get an answer whether, if they run the line in on Carr Drive, which butts up against my property, and is a junction with River Arches, if it stops there, I have to pay for another 300 feet of line, which could cost me anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000 more. It makes no sense to annex this property, and I really hope the board understands what kind of a financial burden it creates for the people living in this unorganized territory. Thank you.
As was previously stated, I'm Eric Pakula. I live at 15137 Riverside Drive. As was previously stated, there was previous agreements in 2003. There's a lot of other things that have been brought up with Carr Drive. They're basically hanging a scarlet letter A on these properties for annexation without a known valuation to put on these. If they wanted to sell or do something, it would affect them. In my case, I'm the southern border property of unorganized territory the way this plays out. I'm too far off of Riverside Drive to hook up. I have an easement to Riverside Drive. I'm 640 feet from there, so I'm not going to hook up to city sewer and water. There's nothing they're bringing to the table for me to justify a doubling of my taxes. They cannot tell me why I need to pay $10,000 for their services when they're just rebottling the air and selling it back to me for twice as much. So I'm the southern border. They might want to try and call me an island, but they created an island just northwest of me also. They allowed property, so they're treating citizens differently in order to annex them into their properties. So if you look at my property, if you walk it, which I don't think many of them have done, they just on their paper push. Again, I'm on the southern boundary of unorganized territory. To my northwest is property similar to mine. North of me are properties similar to mine. And at this time, there is nothing about this that benefits my property. They're going to basically take my tax dollars or have the ability to double my taxes and then take that revenue away from unorganized territory and the services they provide. They don't even maintain the county road that I access. And they are not planning to take that on at this point. So for a lot of different reasons that have been brought up in the past and at the county or at the city meeting that they're ignoring, however this goes, if one thing in point, this is a tax grab in my case. They purely simply want to grab tax dollars on this. And I hope you vote it down, force them to go contest it or do some other means, because I don't think they have the justification to really go forward with it at this point. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak?
Good morning, Chairman and council members, or commission members. My name is Ken Mimek. I have property at 15857 Ashman Road. I just want to make sure you all were in receipt of a letter that my son Lane put together for all of you. Hopefully you got that. Unfortunately, he had an unexpected trip to the ER with his son, so he can't be here this morning. But I think that there's a couple things that were said in options 2 and 3, and I had the opportunity to talk to Jesse a little bit yesterday. It looks like, my understanding is there's sort of two different situations here. One is the Riverside Drive area, which already has services and things in the road. And then there's the Ashman Road, which would be called a utility extension piece, which does not currently have utilities there. And there's a different cost structure, is my understanding, if the utility is already there and hooking up versus a process where we've got a road that doesn't have any of this yet in it. And the bearing of the cost is two different situations, because now on the Ashman Road piece, the property owners, and I think one of the keys that Ms. Erickson mentioned was the process where the property owners have petitioned to be annexed. I don't think that there are any of the property owners in either one of these districts that are asking to be annexed. So it's a little bit of a different situation. There are significant costs on the Ashman Road project that we don't know. We still don't know at this time. So the discussion that we've had is that, well, at some time in the future, those will become known. Well, I ask that you either take no action or take the second option at this point until we get the information, so that we know, as one of the other gentlemen said, we don't know what this is going to cost us as property owners. And there should be a means to tell us that. There should be some way to say, hey, a lift station, which most of the properties are below those roads and will probably require some form of lift station, whether it's a joint one or individual property owners. But if we don't even know what those cost, we don't know what it costs to repave the road, we don't know what it costs, and the assessment would be to put new curb and gutter up. So we're just asking, as the unorganized folks, for you to either deny it or take no action, so that we have time to really gather, what is this information? What is it going to mean to us as property owners? So thank you for your time and attention.
Anyone else? Rick, there's a woman coming up.
Pardon me?
There's a woman coming up. She was up before you were.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Delrose Carson. I live at the very end of River Arches, and our property is a little unique to everyone else because we our elevation is right down on the Mississippi River banks. And for us to have to be annexed and have these facilities made available to us, you would probably have to have 2 lift stations and maybe a grinder. I don't know. It comes straight down and across what I call a frog pond, but it's a nice pond, and then into our area. And to do that, we would definitely have to, if we're paying these expenses, we would need to take another mortgage on our house. We're both retired. And we are also in the Mississippi, or the federal, I think it's the federal floodplain district. So we're required to have federal flood insurance if we have any amount against the property, like being borrowing money. The last time we paid was $3,300 for 1 year to FEMA to stay in their property, to be on their insurance program, which we would be required to do if we have to take out a loan on this property. So, and then I'm understanding our property taxes would double. We would have to pay to have our current septic system, which works perfectly, to be covered up or whatever legally done, and also the well. So what I'm saying is, like, we would have to move because we can't afford this. So I would appreciate your consideration for just leaving us down by the riverbank. We're perfectly happy the way we are. Thank you.
Thank you. Rick?
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Rick Scogan. I'm a proud unorganized Territorian, I guess you'd call me, at the north end of the county, north end of the First Assessment District. And I think that these folks don't want to be annexed. I know I don't want to be annexed. Commissioner Lubke brought it up that this issue will probably be in front of you again and again and again. It was about maybe 10 or 12 years ago that Nisswa tried to annex the area that I live in, and I live from here to that American flag away from the city limits of Nisswa. And we fought it. And for the time being, we're victorious. I would suggest, and I have no power to do that, but I would still suggest that the county take action number 2 and deny this annexation simply as a message to the city of Brainerd and to the city of Nisswa and to the city of Baxter, all 3 of them, and possibly Merrifield on the east side, that the proud unorganized Territorians are happy with the situation we have now. We have decent roads, we have decent police protection, we have decent fire protection, and we don't have the need to see fit that we should be taken in by another city or not a township, but another city. And we really don't want to organize. I understand that. We're happy being the largest in the state, and we'd like to stay that way. So thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
Is there anyone else?
Richard Burton, 7801 Lone Oak Road. I live in Crow Wing Township, a township that has suffered a little bit of property loss through the city of Brainerd's antics. I've also worked around Brainerd and Crow Wing County all of my life, but not for much longer. As some of you have stated, you don't know the real costs of this project. You also don't know the real costs of what's going to cost you after they leave. The grass is replanted, the road is repaved, and the costs continue on of your pump station the pump stations that are going to transfer your sewage, and everything that comes along with that. The maintenance doesn't stop when the last truck leaves the construction site. The cost will continue on, and if you're downhill from one of those pumping stations and there's a failure and the check valves have somebody's underwear stuck in it, everybody else's sewage uphill ends up in your basement. You're not alone at that point. You get everybody else's refuse. Along with that, this city has not operated within their own taxing limits for about 40 years. They're on local government aid. That's what keeps Brainerd alive, is LGA. I call it small town heroin, because once you're hooked on it, you can't get yourself back off of it. They design their budgets and their staffing.
Madam Chair, the discussion here is annexation, not the actions of the city of Brainerd.
Point well taken. If I lived in that area of unorganized township, I would fight this tooth and nail, and I urge you folks to look out for the benefit of the people that haven't caused you any problem but pay their taxes. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Discussion from us?
Yes, discussion from the commissioners.
I just want to start out by saying I understand why Brainerd wants to do this and why it's a benefit for them and their residents to do it. However, I don't see it as a benefit to the residents that they're trying to annex in. I think it's only going to put the financial burden on them. Not long ago, the city of Crosby had ambitions to annex part of Deerwood Township. And they, after discussing it, sent a letter to the Deerwood Township and asked for a meeting with all the residents that would be affected and wanted to hear their input, and did so, and it was an overwhelming crowd that showed up, and not a single one was in favor of it happening. They took that back to their council meeting and discussed it and realized that that was not the right decision to make. I'm appreciative of the way Crosby handled that situation, and the residents of Deerwood Township are very appreciative of it, and it's actually made the relationship better because of that. But one of the arguments that I heard through this process was about the sewer and the well, the environmental argument that this would be better for the residents. You know, I think about every other house that we have that's on the Mississippi River and on every body of water around here that have their own wells and their own sewers. You know, this argument is not a valid argument in my opinion. That's like saying that everybody else in the county should follow suit then at that point. And these wells are all functioning properly, sewers are functioning properly. If it ever gets to a point where they run out of space to put a new sewer in the event that there's fails, you know, then they can ask the city to hook up to them. So I don't think that's a valid argument. And from the public service side of things, I don't think there's a township or even an area within a township that's closer to the sheriff's department than this area of First Assessment. Same with the fire department. They've already got a contract with Brainerd Fire, and they're probably the closest township to Brainerd Fire. So I don't think they're adding any value to the residents by annexing them with regard to public service. Roads are already maintained by Highway Department, and some of it's maintained by the city of Brainerd now as well, but it's not adding any value to them either. So I would not support motion number 1, and I would prefer option number 2.
Right, thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Madam Chair, I'll just let you know I'm ready to vote.
Okay. I'm going to hand the gavel over to the vice chair. Since this is in my district, even though the entire board is the town board. I want to make sure that the people know that I heard them. I have had all kinds of contact, phone calls, emails, texts, all kinds of contact with people in this district, and not one of them wanted this. So I am going to make a motion, not the one in the packet. I'm going to make a motion for a resolution to deny the orderly annexation of certain areas within Crow Wing County to the city of Brainerd pursuant to Minnesota statutes 414.0325. And then in our packet, there's an Exhibit A on page 183 and an Exhibit B on pages 184 through 210 that show the areas and give the descriptions of the land. So if I could get a second.
Madam Chair, or Mr. Chairman, I would second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, ask for a roll call.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke,
Aye.
Commissioner Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine.
Aye. Motion carries. I guess you say that.
Motion carries.
Yeah. You gonna hand it back to her now or not?
Thank you very much. Okay, next on the agenda is County Sheriff.
Good morning. I don't have anything for you today, but if you had any questions, I'd certainly be happy to answer any. Any concerns or anything like that? Outstanding. We must be doing a good job. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. County Attorney?
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. I also don't have anything for you today, but I'd be happy to answer any questions you have of me.
Thank you for being here.
City Administrator? County
Madam Chair, I
Administrator?
do have a couple more things for you today. Really, the only thing I have is the senior management team report. We met yesterday for the first time in a few weeks, which was nice to get together and have some conversations again. One of the items that we talked about is that somehow it's already almost the end of the first quarter of 2026. Time flies when you're having fun. And we spent quite a bit of time talking about the refinements that we made to our performance management process over the course of the last year to be implemented in 2026. The focus that we wanted to make sure is that we continue to ensure that quality, timely discussions and content continue to occur. The success of the system really will hinge on our ability to continue to do quality performance management work. So we had a lot of discussion around this process as we come closer to that first check-in this year with our staff and supervisors. We also had conversation around the fact that there is a new statute that went into effect this year that requires any grant agreements that county enters into to be posted to our website. This is, I believe the purpose of this is to increase the transparency and where's the funding coming from that county municipalities and counties are dealing with. We had a significant discussion on how we would deliver this requirement to make sure that we have a way to begin to pull all that data together to put it out on our website. One of the things that we discussed was that there are some state agencies like DHS who have already started to put that information out available on their website, and rather than recreate the wheel, we'll be looking at ways that we can link to those agreements when it's the same agreement that we have. So we'll be looking at how we can do that, how we capture some of those other agreements that we have and how we display them on our website. More to come on this as we get more familiarized with this and start to get it all information together. I will just note that this is for any contracts that were executed after January 14th, I believe it was, of 2026. So you'll start to see something like that occur, and we will make sure that we share that landing page with you when we do have that all available. As has been the case at most of our recent meetings, we had quite a rigorous discussion around the paid family leave and some of the impacts that it is having with our staff, as far as to make sure that we are showing our coverage needs, that we are managing all of that process and what that looks like. We do know that it is a significant amount of time that is being put into that. What we did hear is that not every county or every agency that went with the same private plan that we went with is seeing the same level of use. The good thing is we have a cap rate lock for 2027, so we have a 2-year rate lock. And we did find out that we're in a pool of all the folks who went with Integrity with the MetLife program to help smooth that experience in future renewal years as well. So that was nice to hear also. And then finally, we talked about ways that we can tell our story in the community. What are some opportunities that staff can take advantage of that might exist for our staff to engage with the community and share the story of Crow Wing County? Is it a lunch and learn at the library or at the center, or maybe it is the Nisswa Lions Club, or some other ways that we can get out into the community and tell the story, whether that be a particular topic or just the overall general information. This is one of the project assignments that our public information officer is working on for this year. So if any of you have any ideas or ways that you would like to see us engage with the community and share the story of the county, please feel free to reach out to Darcy or myself, and we'd be happy to get those into the mix as well. That is all I have for you, Madam Chair. Unless anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Madam Chair, you bring up a really good point about getting out there, you know, because I live up in a northern area and sharing what the county does, because first thing is I had to learn what the county does.
Yep.
Even though I'd been in the county since '73, I had to learn what the county does, and I think that's really important. I know there's been some talk in my area with a mayor or so up there that would like to see the cities have a group discussion with the county, like it's being done with the townships, and some way of forming that to be just an informational thing and get the mayors that would like to get together, because some of the mayors haven't served for very many years and don't know what the county does and where the guardrails are. And I think it would be really good, and it would really help with transparency and really help with that we're all on the same mission. We're all trying to serve people better. So I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad senior management team seems to be looking forward to doing that. Thank you.
All right. Next is a closed session.
Madam Chair, we do have we need to move into closed session pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D.03 for labor negotiation strategy. This is with our deputies, LELS. I had to think for a second which one we were talking about today, but it's with our LELS deputies. So we'll just recess quickly here while we get set up for the closed session. Madam Chair, we need a motion to move into closed session, please, before
John.
Commissioner
Lupke, just wait.
Madam Chair,
I'll make the motion to move into closed session.
I have
Second,
a motion by
Coring.
Commissioner Lee. Do I have a second?
You have a second by Commissioner Lupke.
Okay.
Madam Chair, we need roll call, please.
We need quiet in here.
Commissioner Lee.
Aye.
Commissioner Coring.
aye.
Commissioner Lupke.
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you. Now you can pause.
Okay, good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I'm here today with a tentative agreement with the Law Enforcement Labor Services, Local 14, representing our deputies and investigators. This group represents 36 employees, and it includes our, do you want to put the PowerPoint back up there, please? It includes our security and rec deputies, our investigators, and our patrol deputies. The agreement includes moving 100% to our market-aligned pay plan with the range increases in 26, 27, and 28 of 3, 3, and 2.75%. The general adjustment, meeting expectations increase, and also the new advancing Crow Wing County incentive. This group is on the Crow Wing County pay plans, or Crow Wing County health plans as well. Some of the key recognitions for the agreement includes our Minnesota paid leave language, which includes a 50-50 premium split, using PTO so they can remain whole, as paid leave does not pay 100% of their wages. Paid leave will run concurrently with our other leaves, such as FMLA and parenting leave. It's removing our short-term disability plan and removing our PTO donation program. Other items include the use of the full PTO accrual table, which we anticipate will help us in the recruitment process, increasing the healthcare savings plan from $25 per month to $35 per month, uniform allowance annually of $1,080 that will be paid, divided by 12 and paid out monthly, which will help us administratively with paying that monthly versus annually. The shift differential increased to $1 per hour, including all hours on the weekend as well. And this was our final group to move to that $1 an hour shift diff. K-9 officer pay of 30 minutes of overtime each day, which is required by the Fair Labor Standards Act that we do pay for K-9 maintenance for our K-9 officers. FTO pay of 2 hours of straight time pay per day that they are actively engaged in FTO training with our new hires and new recruits. The agreement also includes language about no wage adjustments following the expiration of the contract, and a deferred comp match as well of $100, up to $100 per month in 2026, and then $50 a month starting in January of 2027. And then, as with any agreement, we continue to do some language clarification and cleanup, and we did agree to a 3-year contract. In addition to moving to our new Crow Wing County pay plan, the agreement also includes the starting salary, defining the starting salary for each year of the contract, and it is higher than what the minimum salary is of the pay grade. It'll include, for our deputies investigators, a market adjustment of $3,000 in January of 26, and then applying the new pay plan, and $2,000 market adjustment in 27, and then applying the pay plan. It's also allowing the max salary for all 3 years of the contract to be the max salary of what the 2028 pay grade reflects. And then our security and rec deputies will receive the market adjustment of $1,000 in 26 and in 27, and then the application of the pay plan. If there are no questions, I'm looking for authorization to enter into a labor agreement between Crow Wing County and Law Enforcement Labor Services, Local Number 14, effective January 1st, 2026 through December 31st, 2028, and the Chair, Human Resources Manager, and County Administrator are authorized to sign said agreement.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I will second that motion to approve our labor contract with Local 14.
Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Lee, a second from Commissioner Lubke. All those in favor?
Commissioner Lubke.
Aye.
Commissioner Lee.
Aye.
Commissioner Coring.
Aye.
Commissioner Franzen.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice work.
Madam Chair, that is all we have for you today.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Gary got back to us, and there's $102,000, $102,000 in the 30 Lakes watershed balance.
So it'll be adequate for quite a while.
Correct.
$5,000 to $7,000 payout per year for water testing.
Good.
Madam Chair, just one question. I'm sure you know something I don't, but I'm looking at a 12.1.
12.1.
Yeah, human resources.
That's
That was
what
where
we
the
just did.
actual,
That was, okay.
All right.
that's
Labor
where the actual
agreement.
action was.
Okay, well.
Oh, sorry.
You had
I'm
the
thinking
closed
there was a
session
second-
to
I'm
hear
thinking
it,
there
and
was a
then
second
you had
one.
to come into open
That's the open
session
No.
to approve it.
I was thinking we had a human resources
No,
contract as well.
no, that's what you did.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
So a motion to adjourn would be in order, Madam Chair.
I think,
And Paul made the motion.
Motion.
and I will second that motion.
Okay.
We agree, Paul.
Motion by Commissioner Coring, second by Commissioner Lubke.
We're still.
We're still in a meeting yet here, Sheriff.
Commissioner Coring.
Aye.
Commissioner Lubke.
Aye.
Commissioner Lee.